Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I've got a special piece that I'm going to be working on. It is on canvas, 24 by 36 inches. So it's one of the largest, if not the largest, canvas piece that I've done. I think I've done a 24 by 30. That was probably the largest canvas that I've done. So this one will top that by just a smidge. But yeah, it's a really cool piece. It's a custom order. So I've already started the pencil sketch of it. It's probably hard for you to see at the moment because it's quite light. But essentially it is of the Great Lakes, all the Great Lakes, and a scene drawn on the inside. And so, yeah, I worked with the client to see what kind of things they wanted to incorporate. We went back and forth on a few ideas here and there, and now it's ready for full detailing. So I'm gonna, kind of go over the whole process more or less and show you how it's done. So first things first, we're gonna do the outline of the piece. So we're gonna start off right up top with Lake Superior. I might actually stand for some of this, a little bit more comfortable. Alright, so now you can see the rough outline of the Great Lakes. It's not quite completed, the outline, that is. Still need to go over it again and then make the outline a little thicker so it stands out a little bit more. But I wanted to mention the pencil sketch, the initial draft. It was actually drafted on draft paper. And I did that specifically because this is a custom order. I was working with a client. I wanted to make sure that everything was good and perfect. And if there were any changes that we had to make, that it's a lot easier on drafting paper than it is to actually do any changes on canvas. So that's why I did it that way. After everything was okayed by the client, I actually projected the image onto the canvas, and it's a bit of a ghetto setup that I have, but it kind of works. And that saves me some time from actually going and trying to, get the whole composition, or try to redraw the whole composition one more time. Because the drafting paper I used, I drew it to scale and everything like that. So projecting it on just makes it a lot easier, especially working on canvas. I don't want to ruin any of the white space that's going to be around it. Canvas is a tricky type of material to work on because it can get dirty really easily, and I don't want there to be any smudges or mistakes or anything like that from having to go and erase anything or whatever. So but yeah, so I just wanted to throw that in there because I forgot to mention that right at the beginning. But yeah, I'm gonna go over the outline now, but I'm not gonna make you sit through it. So I'm going to try doing a transition, see how good this is, but with the power of YouTube. So there we have it. There's the full outline. That took about an hour to do, so it took a little bit, but I like how it looks now. You can definitely see it stand out, the full outline of the Great Lakes. Our next step is going to be to fill in all the insides. So we're going to start off with filling in all the lines and filling in the silhouettes. So all the trees, plants, there's a couple of animals that are going to be fully silhouetted. That's our next step, is filling all that in. And yeah, excited. excited to see this piece start to come to life. Alright, well, there we have it. Now everything is all filled in. You can kind of get a better picture of what the full illustration is going to look like with all the lines and silhouettes filled in. So it gives you a good idea of the whole idea here. Now our next step is going to be to fill in all the water areas. So in Lake Superior, we're going to do this whole area here. And then Michigan and Huron, as well as Erie and Ontario, there's a little bit there. So we're going to be using blue acrylic paint for that. And so that's our next step before we go on to the fine detailing with the stippling. But yeah, I would say we are maybe halfway done at this point. So yeah, I really like how it's looking so far. I think it's turning out to be a really beautiful piece, and it's only going to get even more better from here. So let's get started on the painting process. Alright, so we've got 2 coats of blue paint on the canvas already. So it's looking pretty good as we're shaping up to do the final detailing. Before we start doing any of the stippling using our archival ink pens, we're also going to paint in the sun. Now, as per request of the client, they would like to see red sun. So we have red acrylic paint that we will be applying to the sun. Should only take a few short minutes, and then we can start doing detailing on the rest of the piece. Alright, so here comes the fun part. It's filling in all the remaining spaces with detailing, and we're going to be using various different types of stippling to fulfill that, to create different dimensions of depth into the landscape. And so the first part that I'm going to tackle is going to be the foreground. So we're going to do the foregrounds of Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario, which are quite small, and then Lake Superior. Those are by far the largest sections that we need to work on. So I always like to start off on the large sections, get those out of the way, and then work my way down. Now we're going to be using Micron pens to fulfill this, and I'm going to be starting off with using the 0.1 thickness, which is actually 0.25 millimeters. I'm going to start off light, just because I don't want to go too dark at first in case it becomes too overpowering, because I can't really dial it back. Whereas if I start off light, I can always add more to make it darker if I need to. So we're going to start off with something light, something nice and easy. So we're going to start off with this pen here. So canvas is a bit of an interesting texture to work on, and it kind of is the nice thing about working on canvas is that to create that stippling effect, you don't actually have to kind of do the traditional dotting like you would on paper or on wood on a smooth surface, because canvas is a rough surface. It's got little tiny grooves and bumps, and if you just move your pen ever so gently, you don't want to go too hard like you're coloring it in, but you just want to be very gentle, moving the pen over top of it, and it basically creates the same effect. It creates the stippling effect that you would see on paper or wood, and it's a little bit less time consuming. You can get through a larger area in a shorter amount of time. So that's kind of the nice thing about working on canvas, is that you get to sort of just kind of go on autopilot with this stuff. Stippling itself is sort of that in a way, but yeah, you basically get to create the exact same effect with a little bit less time put into it. So I also noticed that if I do try to do traditional stippling, it sometimes doesn't apply very well onto the canvas because of the ribbed surface rather. So having just adding a little bit more pressure and going around, and I'm just kind of going around in circles like this. It really helps smoothen it out. Don't get me wrong, it's still extremely time consuming, but we're getting it done a lot faster. So anyways, we will time lapse the rest of this, and yeah, then we'll go from there. So we're nearly done with the foregrounds of each lake, and of course right at the end the pen is definitely losing ink. I'm not sure. I think it's the tip has been worn down, so it's not producing, you know, the best consistent ink delivery onto the canvas, but that's okay. We're just adding a little bit more pressure than I did previously, just to keep a little bit, you know, keep it a little bit consistent. But we're gonna have to go over it again with some extra detailing later on, so that's okay. I'm just gonna power through. We're almost finished here. But yeah, it takes care of that. Alright, so we did the foregrounds. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna go and strengthen those out a little bit later. But right now I want to tackle the rest of the backgrounds. So we have the island here, we have the landscape in Lake Huron, landscape in Superior. There's no landscape in Ontario, and there's only this little tiny spit in Lake Erie. So there's not a whole lot left, but it's going to be basically the same idea. I'm going to use different types of thicknesses on the landscapes. But yeah, we're gonna tackle those right now. Alright, so I am losing daylight, which means that I don't have very much time left to finish the detailing. We'll probably tackle the sky before the sun goes down for the night. And then tomorrow morning, for the sake of filming, I will finish the detailing in the water and all that kind of stuff. But as you can see, it's very close to being finished. One thing that I did right after doing the detailing, I let the battery charge a little bit on the camera. I went over and created darker lines around the landscapes. I find that that really helps the illustration pop when you thicken those lines. Usually it's kind of my last step, but since I can't seem to locate my spare battery for my camera, I had to let that battery charge up a bit until we can start the next segment. So I did that in the meantime. But yeah, for now, the next step is to start on the sky, and the sky portion is going to be tackled a little bit differently than the rest of the landscape. So let's start off with that. Alright, so we're going to start off with Lake Superior, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin with creating these large dots, and we're going to kind of randomly place them in different spots. I'm going to make different variations, so different sizes of them. So some will be bigger, some will be larger, or some will be smaller rather. But yeah, we're just gonna do that. Now once I have these larger dots made, I'm just going to get into a better angle. Excuse me here. Alright, we're going to create smaller dots just by kind of lightly pressing onto the canvas. We're just kind of creating a random pattern of them. And I don't really know what you would call these. I've heard some people refer them to as stars, but you wouldn't really see stars when the sun is out, so I don't know. You just it's just the way that I like to detail my skies, and I've been doing it for quite a while. It's kind of evolved into this, and I sort of like it. It breaks it up because there's so much white space around the silhouette. In this case, the silhouette of the Great Lakes, the outline of it, that if the sky remained white, it just wouldn't look completed. It wouldn't look very good. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to create more of this pattern. Finish it off here. So now on the outer edges, I'm going to concentrate a little bit more attention and putting more dots in that area, and I'm going to kind of just do more dots at the edge and then move in ever so slightly. And so continue to do that here and go around the edge, just like that. So I lost a lot of light last time I spoke to you guys, so I finished all the sky portions last night, and all we have left to do is just detail in the water. So it's our last step here. What I'm going to use is one of the larger Micron pens, and we're just going to start creating the waves on the water. And it's just very, very kind of simple lines. Now we're just gonna So now to finish off the waves, we're using this white pen to create another varying tone in the waves. Gonna give it that shimmer in the water. I kind of like the two-tone look. The white really lets the water pop. And you'll see what I mean when we finish this throughout all the water parts of the illustration. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a variation of lines and also just dots as well. And that, you know, kind of gives it the sparkle of the water that you would commonly see if you were looking out into the lakes. And it's a little, gotta apply a little bit of force to get the white ink on here. Alright, so the water is pretty much finished, but there's one more thing that I want to do to very much complete the piece, and that's to color in the pelican's beak. I'm going to be using a little bit of paint. I don't need much, so I'm just going to use a tiny bit on here. And there we have it. There's the finished piece of the Great Lakes. Well, actually not quite finished. I forgot another step. A pretty important one. So let me just cap this real quick. And I need to hurry up. Me the pen. Okay, so last step is to actually sign the piece. So we're going to do it in the rightmost corner here. So there we have it, the Great Lakes. I commissioned 24 by 36 canvas, all done. It took, all in all, it took roughly about 4 days to complete it, as I was working with the daylight for filming purposes and things like that. But all in all, I would say there's at least a good 8 to 10 hours put into the whole piece. So not too bad for a 24 by 36. And yeah, I love how it turned out. The Great Lakes is a piece that I have done a couple times now. The second time that I've done a Great Lakes piece on canvas. And I really enjoy doing them. Obviously, living in the Great Lakes, there's no place like it. It's where I call home. It's amazing. It's always so beautiful, picturesque, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for my artwork comes from. And so this was a really great project to work on. Love how it turned out, and I'm excited to deliver it to the client. Client lives locally, so this doesn't need to be shipped very far. So that's a very good thing in the business of art, I guess, in the art business, I should say. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along and seeing the process of how one of these pieces are made. I enjoyed making it, and yeah, stay tuned for more. And we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.